Anon vs. RGRE Part 6. What's the matter, Twilight? I took the rim of the shot between my teeth, tilting back my head as I downed the drink, and with a spit, the shot fell onto the table, rolling in a small circle. Never had anything bitter in your life? Can't handle the challenge of a real drink? Oh! Pfft, you wish. Twilight's lavender magic surrounded the shot, lifting both it and the bottle in the middle of the table towards her muzzle. She poured herself another drink, which she swirled about in the air for all to see. This stuff here, I was only hesitant because it tasted like root beer. She hovered the shot over her muzzle and, throwing back her head, tilted the drink. Magic guided the drink down her open mouth while she swallowed in a fluid moment, catching the shot itself between her lips. Twilight then looked down at me and with a wink, spat the shot at me. It hit my chest before falling between my legs, and for the moment, I was the one to be stunned. Twilight wasn't pulling any punches. Oh! Will you all shut up? I yelled at the crowd without looking at them. I couldn't look at them. I just couldn't. The constant drinking had cooled my nerves enough that I didn't have to worry about all those staring eyes. Just had to keep my mind and my own eyes off them. This is a private drinking competition? Everyone get lost! The stallions surrounded the side of our table. They blocked the damn walkway as well. I could feel their presence, their exhales sporadically blowing the fur on my shoulder. I shook my head, inhaled deeply, and did my best to forget. What's the matter, Anon? Twilight's muzzle was swaying in the air, her lips constantly splitting in non-stop giggles, her eyes doing their best to stay locked on me. Don't want a crowd to see you lose? Oh, isn't that so cute? Should I shoo them away for you? I can take care of myself, thank you very much. I learned to pick up the shot between my legs, a loud thud resounding when my forehead slammed against the table. I jerked up right away, crushing under my breath. Someone fill my shot! Anything for you, sweetie? Twilight levitated the bottle up and over to me, sticking only the tip of her tongue over her lips. She was gesturing the things to come. Fuck that. Should I only give you half a shot because of... I yanked the bottle out of her magical grip. Holding it awkwardly, I brought its opening to my lips, chugging back 3 solid gulps of the vile liquid. It burned and it tasted awful, and my face made no show of it. I can't believe... a stallion going against a mare? Some stallion screamed. Can some handsome stallion stroke my cheek? I don't think I can handle much more of this. There was a shuffling of hoof steps. I think I may faint. You and me both, buddy. Most of the feeling in my body had disappeared after the 5th shot of the 2nd bottle. The world swayed, my head hurt, and my stomach churned. Twilight didn't look much better than me, but somehow she managed to keep looking adorable through it all. She was trying too hard to be sultry and sexy, and for whatever reason, that made her only more sultry and sexy. Twilight took back the bottle and shot wordlessly. She poured herself a drink, downed it, poured a second, downed it, poured a third, but kept the shot at her lips, but brought it no further. An invisible stone wall had constructed itself in her mouth. She had hit the block. Oh, what's this? Is Anon going to get to live an easy life after all? I beat a hoof against my chest, pointing it at her afterwards. I laughed. See? This is what you stallions need. Pride. You have some pride in your life, and it'll do you wonders. I then crossed my forelegs over my chest. Even beat a mare, a princess in her own kingdom? Who's the best stallion to have ever lived? I tilted my muzzle up. I am. No mare is getting this piece. Aw, yeah. I was acting like an idiot, and I couldn't give a flying fuck about it. Wait, but you slept with a mare before, right? I blinked. What the fuck? Of course he has, another voice replied. Every stallion has been laid before. It's, like, impossible for any stallion to be virgin. The voice went quiet for a moment. Right? I didn't want to, but my eyes were drawn to the crowd, to all the sensitive stallions staring down at me. I was able to brave their gazes a little easier than the mare, for whatever reason. Knowing that I was slightly better than them all, I made facing them a little easier. Did that make me a prick? Haven't fucked a horse before. I blinked, watching the faces sway about in the circle, at a speed faster than I would have liked. don't think I've ever stuck my cock in anything before. At least I don't recall. My head fell to the left, causing my body to lean after it. Fuck me! I'm a fucking virgin! I slammed my hoof against the table. Come on, brain! Of all the things to remember, you decide to slip that fact back in? I sighed, doing my best to keep sure only a sigh came out of my mouth. What a fucking bummer. When I finally did look up from my disappointment, the first thing I saw was the bright glowing eyes of Twilight Sparkle. And they were wider and brighter than any time I've seen them before. In a second, it was like all her drunkenness has disintegrated, burned in a heat wave of burning realization. Anon? Twilight nearly whispered. You're a virgin? And so what if I fucking am? I said with my voice raising, and in a second I did not like how weak I felt and sounded. Nothing wrong with that. It's you mares who are crazy. I don't trust any of you near my It was like a stampede that I was too fucked to properly see or hear. The crowd of stallions all at once turned to the side, each running in a gallop away from the table. Some yelled, some cried, other eyes going wide. They just couldn't handle it, and they all promptly fucked off. What the fuck? I couldn't stop my swearing, not when I was both drunk and confused. When I looked back at Twilight, she had lowered her glass and instead raised the bottle to her lips. Yo, Twilight, what gives? Why the fuck is everyone freaking out over me being, you know, a fucking virgin? Twilight stared at me. Twilight? I tried again with a more desperate voice. Come on, don't be like that. Surely there are other virgin stallions around here. I found myself gulping utter fear down my throat. Right? Twilight, in response to all of this, put the bottle to her lips and tilted her head back. With eyes closed, she didn't gulp, but rather chugged the bottle down. She kept drinking even as alcohol flooded over her lips and down her chin. Somehow, in my stupidity, I'd given her a second wind. Watching the alcohol drain down the glass of the bottle, I thought of that as a good metaphor for the confidence draining down through my body. And in just a few seconds, she emptied the bottle, and with puffed cheeks, Twilight Sparkle threw herself at me. I wasn't expecting her to fly at me, this beautiful piece of soft and slender purple shooting straight for me. Her chest crashed against my own. Her firm flanks slammed against my thighs, and without hesitation, she crossed her forelegs over my neck, locking them together, pinning me in a hug. I went to yell at her, but in a blur of movement, found my lips already occupied. Twilight had pushed her muzzle against my own, her lips pressing against mine, the layer of her fur brushing against my own as well. I tried fighting back, but for whatever reason, my body did not give in to my demands. It only took a few seconds for me to realize why. I was drunk, tired, and sore. I'd been in pain, I'd been wearing a mask, I'd been waiting for a moment of bliss, even for a moment to escape my torment. And now, for this one time only, I had this perfect purple princess in my lap. My forelegs raised to her back on their own. Her back was slightly arched, the layer of her coat pleasant to touch, the toned muscles underneath shifting to her movement, to her kissing, to how she rocked her hips over my crotch. The tip of her tongue prodded in between my lips. My mind went blank for just a second. I'd only been kissed once before, and now I was having to pick up the cues as I went along. I had no idea what I was doing and cared not for how much I might have been fucking up. Though Twilight didn't seem to care. All she was focused on was having more of me against and upon her. So I tilted my muscles slightly, parted my lips, and the torrent of alcohol streaming through my mouth. Clever girl. The game was still on even though we were both so fucked. I wanted to cough back the liquid, but I didn't care, and instead swallowed whatever shots I was supposed to take in response. It only caused my hoofs to travel further down her back, as our lips pressed, our lips meshed, and I felt her giggles echo through my mouth, the exhales of her nose brushing along my cheek. Her tail flicked repeatedly against the cushion of the booth, resounding sporadically. And finally, after a final gulp, my hooves and tongue became daring. My tongue pressed forward into her mouth, slipping past her tongue and exploring everything inside of that warm, soft, fleshy cavern that I was allowed to feel. My hooves slipped down her lower back and, taking their chance, dropped directly down to her flanks. Each cheek of ass was bigger than I expected. firmer than I ever hoped, and pressed my hooves into her rump, its softness flattening and filling over the edges of my hoof. Twilight let out a high-pitched moan, jumping up against my body. She giggled in the air, kissing me from above, though she slowly lowered herself on me again, pinning my forehooves underneath her ass, forcing me to hold her up, even ever so slightly. Every wet smack of our lips pushed my body to its limit. Her every moan elicited one of my own, and there was an aching from my loins, a stirring I was glad to feel again. The thought of my cock popping up sent me for a gulp. Twilight? I pulled back from our kiss, seeing the rope of saliva bridging our parted lips. Twilight had yet to pull away, but instead rubbed her nose against my own, her eyes still closed. I exhaled softly, knowing that this was just too much. The game, it's not over yet. Twilight giggled. We're gonna need another bottle then, aren't we? Her eyes reopened. The proximity of her violet eyes caused my heart to stop. She was beautiful, adorable, and so utterly pretty that I could just never hope to put it into words. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I was no longer scared. There wasn't a need to swear, not when she was so close, so warm, so slender and soft, wanting only more of whatever I was. There was something sweet and sinister about it all that I just couldn't hope to comprehend.